Ferrari at breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Come back to our conversation about the boosters. Let's go to Marbella. Alan, good morning.
Good morning, Nick. First time caller. Your show is fantastic.
Oh, it's very
You're a
sweet.
master of the game.
Oh, I don't know about that. That's very kind of you. Thank you.
I think that Johnson's, although I don't go along with a lot of things he does, I think it's a very good idea to try and push people to get this third vaccination. If you just look around Europe, more and more people are getting it, and it's got to be stamped out. So if this is the only way to force people to do it, why not?
Because isn't it a bit of bullying? And what of one of my colleagues who's in his mid-20s, who, if we look at the way they're talking about doing it, won't be able to get away?
We might not be able to get away. It might just be one of those things. I mean, how can they have a system for every single person? Although the only thing I found rather strange about not being able to go away if it's to happen is that when I had my third jab, I only got a little piece of tacky paper, and they told me they weren't updating the official certificate that you normally...
It's on your history.
So how does that work?
I can tell you this because I've checked mine. If you go into your app, there's a bit called History, and are we talking about your booster, by the way? Sorry.
Yes, the booster one.
The booster is logged there.
Right.
So
okay.
it is something there, and they are talking about putting it onto the, I'm going to call it the front page. You know the bit I mean, that's all the QR code is flashing around. Yeah. So they are talking. But it's not fair that a 25-year-old might not get away for skiing this Christmas, is it?
Well, if he wants to go to Austria, he won't be able to go, will he?
There are other places you can ski, but I hear what you're saying. Probably not a lot of skiing in Spain, I imagine. Alan, I have to go because I have a government minister on. You look after yourself, thank you. And if I don't talk to you beforehand, you have a very happy Christmas and a happy holiday period, whatever you're planning. OK, let's go to the events at the weekend, which, of course, as we know now, we heard from the Home Secretary yesterday, means that the so-called terror level has had to be upped here in the UK. Let's get more details on that now from Conservative MP and Security Minister Damien Hinds, who joins me. Obviously, there are things that you are not able to tell us, but what is the latest you can tell us about the events outside that hospital? Good morning to you, Minister.
Well, good morning, Nick. And a terrible event in Liverpool, very upsetting and unsettling for the people of Liverpool. The deceased individual has been named, as you know, and the other 4 people who were arrested, the police have been satisfied with their accounts, and they've been released. Thankfully, Mr. Perry, the driver, is out of hospital, and we're very grateful for that, and very grateful that more people were not injured or killed. But of course, it remains, as I say, very distressing for everybody. And as you said, the threat level has been raised from substantial to severe. That means we don't want people to be alarmed. It's not about changing your daily life, but it means having heightened alert.
And what changes will we see? Presumably railway stations, major shopping malls, airports. I don't know. What increased security personnel might my listeners be seeing?
So you shouldn't be surprised if in busy places there's an increase in visible uniform presence, but the police and security service don't go into detail about everything that's triggered for obvious reasons when the alert level is changed. But it does help to guide their response about what is appropriate. But it's also worth saying, this has moved from substantial to severe, but God, it's been high for a very long time. So there has been a constant threat, a constant presence of people plotting and planning, and 31 late stage plots have been disrupted over the last few years. So people's vigilance is important, but I don't want people to be alarmed.
What do you mean by late stage, Minister?
As in, beyond the kind of early stages of thinking about something, when plans are afoot. That's what late stage means. But obviously that can be a range from substantially through development to very close to actually taking place.
Let's come to the man who was involved in the events at Liverpool. Was he a lone wolf?
So. Well, we know, as I say, we know the other 4 people who are arrested have been released, and so there is nobody else under arrest right now. We use this term lone wolf sometimes. It can sort of paint a picture of somebody which isn't necessarily helpful, but it is true that there's been this shift over time from we used to call them directed attacks, sometimes quite complex, part of a wider organisation and multinational in nature, and move from that to much smaller groups or individuals, self-radicalised, self-initiated in their plot, and that has definitely been a feature over time. And requires, a different kind of response, obviously, from security services and law enforcement. You'll understand, I can't go into detail or any speculation further on the background of this particular individual. But yes, you're absolutely right that has been a trend.
Let me ask you this: it is reported that this man, not going into that much detail, but his asylum claim was rejected in 2014. Why was he here for an additional 7 years?
So again, look, I understand why you asked that question. Obviously, there's a legitimate public interest, and I also understand that you might be frustrated when I say what I'm about to say, which is that
let's say another individual. Okay, another individual is rejected in 2015.
Yeah.
How long before he or she?
We'd like it to be processed quicker, Nick. Of course.
Why is it not?
For everybody's sake. Look, I'm not making excuses, but there are complex issues, sometimes complex legal issues around appeals and so on. But we all want this process, and as I say, for everybody's sake, to work smoothly and to work quickly.
How many appeals is someone allowed?
Well, look, as you know well, there's a whole range of things can happen. Different people can be in different circumstances, but I haven't come on your programme to make excuses for that, Nick, and I want to be really clear about that. We want these things to work more quickly and to work smoothly.
What would be a reasonable amount of time? I mean, I would have thought that if your claim
I don't know I can put a specific time frame on that for what would be a reasonable cutoff. But yes, we want these things to happen quicker.
To the Kent coast, what checks are made when people arrive, having made the crossing? What checks are made to ensure they don't have jihadist feelings or jihadist support?
So checks are made on people coming into the country, and as you know,
how do they take place?
Well. I don't think you'd expect me to go into the
broadly speaking.
I know. Hang on. Give me a chance.
Good.
I don't think you'd expect me to go into the detail of exactly the lists that are run and all the rest of it. But there are checks made of people's identities and what is known about them as they come into the country. But we also want to stop those perilous journeys being made in the first place, and this is the really, really important thing. Many thousands have been stopped, but we need to stop more before they leave the French coast, and that's why our cooperation with the French authorities is so important. There was a good, productive conversation yesterday with the Home Secretary and the French Minister, but we need to do more to stop all of those very, very dangerous crossings being attempted.
Productive. The Priti Patel's counterpart said he felt France was being treated like a punch bag because of Britain's failure in the labour markets. You call that productive, do you, Minister?
Well, first of all, I don't think we've got... I think if you talk about the employment record of the United Kingdom, I think it's difficult to say there are failures there's a failure of the labour market. It is true there are shortages of people in key occupations at the moment, but actually our record on employment over the last since 2012 has been exceptionally strong. But on your main point about our relationship with France, it is very important. We welcome France's commitment, but we need to step up and do more. And as I say, it was a productive discussion yesterday.
Let's come back to these people who make this perilous crossing. So in the middle of the channel, I throw my passport over the side of the boat. I then present myself at Dover and say my name is Nico or whatever. How do you run checks on me then that I'm not a jihadist?
Well, again, you're not going to expect me to go into detail, but there are ways. Well, clearly there are other ways. There are ways of identifying people as well. Documentation is important. There are also other ways of identifying people on occasion. But the key thing is we want to stop people being halfway across the channel.
What are those ways?
Well, clearly there are biometric records of lots of people, not of everybody, but of lots of people.
Has COVID played a role in this, do you think, Minister? In as much as people possibly have been isolated in their homes, they have possibly become prey to this pernicious misrepresentation of aspects of various faiths.
You're coming back, obviously, to the
Liverpool incident
in Liverpool. I think look, an effect of COVID and the lockdowns has been more people spending more time. Some people spending more time in front of their computer screens, and we know that there is a link between self-radicalisation and, for a small number of people, minority people, for them, a link with that and the time spent online, both in consuming propaganda and in interacting online with other people of a similar mindset. So in that sense, yes, I think there is clearly a link for a very, very small minority of people, but it's not something that's created by COVID. That self-radicalisation and the role of the internet and social media and so on, that's been going on a long time. It's a matter of degree because people are online for longer.
And lastly, is there a number of appeals that someone can have once they've failed with their initial asylum, irrespective of the Liverpool case? What is the finite number of appeals someone can have?
So look, there is due legal process.
But are you allowed 2, 3, 8? What's the number
to go through? Well, look, ultimately there are court process, and that's down to that's the domain of the judiciary. But look, I said before, and I meant it. I'm not here to make excuses. Right. We want these things to happen efficiently, effectively, and quickly.
Okay. I'm grateful for your time. Thank you, Security Minister Damien Hinds, appearing on LBC. We're at 2 minutes after 9. The news is next.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom, more details have emerged